All right, welcome Hard Knocks, KK the Destroyer here, coming at you with our playoff podcast, and I got Greg, or not Greg. Wow, that's a
Oh,
major Freudian slip right there. Holy cow!
oh,
Sorry,
easy.
Penn,
Yep, what's going on?
Bucks coach, playoff contender. Glad everybody's able to check it out. So tonight we don't have Mikey with us. I guess he had a birthday party or something. So,
Yeah, I'm bummed. You can't tell me how good Antoine Winfield is. So
oh right,
shoot,
that's right,
now
yeah.
I gotta plug my own player now. So
It's brutal. We had kind of had discussed this in the podcast chat. Was like whether or not we do a podcast last night or we do it today. And Mikey was like, "Well, we should wait till the playoffs are set." So all I can say is I'm going to blame Mikey for not being here because it's his fault. He said we should wait till playoffs were set, and now he's not even here. So
yeah,
suck it,
jeez.
Mikey.
Well, yeah, we'll do periodic just this Mikey throughout
That's
this
right.
podcast.
There you go. So I think initially what we were going to jump off on was the sliders and the stats and the overall impact on the league because I know it's been a topic that we've discussed. And it was kind of one of those things that I thought being a late season start to this league that it would be interesting to try out sliders. And so I did some research on Operation Sports and found a guy that's done sliders for 32 man user CFMs and seemed to have a lot of data to kind of correlate how sliders impacted the game. So what I'll do now is kind of turn it over to Penn, and he can kind of tick through some of these stats, and we can kind of discuss how we think those things affected it. And hopefully, for those that are able to check out the podcast, maybe they can kind of mention in our Discord chat like what their thoughts on it are, and I'll try to keep an eye on it. So, without further ado, Penn, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, definitely. Um, so I know you talked about the holding adjustment on the sliders to maybe make pass protection a little better. And it definitely I don't think it helped at all. Going off of the passing, the top three you had Sam Darnold with 4,700 yards passing, but with a huge negative uh,
Whew.
touchdown
Yeah, it is.
interception ratio, 35 touchdowns but 51 interceptions.
That's
I think that's over
monstrous.
3 games. I'm pretty sure. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Um, then you had Josh Allen, who was kind of the anomaly in the entire league with 3,800 yards passing, and he had 32 touchdowns and only 14 interceptions.
My boy A
So
Bomb,
yeah,
representing there pretty well.
but you
And
go down the list, and that's just super rare, and especially over a 2-to-1 ratio. I don't know if anybody in the league had over a 2-to-1 ratio besides him.
wow.
Not that
Um,
I think Deshaun Watson would have, but
yeah. And what's also interesting is that's a nearly 1,000 yard difference in
yeah,
passing yards between Darnold and Josh Allen. So like, there's a huge outlier in that. And also for context, like defensive coverage and reaction time is sitting up at 100 versus I think it's 50 is what it's set at to start.
oh, interesting. Yeah, I think
And
so. I think 50.
yeah, and so what I was expecting from this was I was expecting passing totals overall to be kind of down, and same thing with rushing totals, which we'll get into soon, um, and different things like that. So I just think it's interesting that I don't really see a big difference, but we can continue to move
Yeah.
on. Looking at it, also for completion percentage, if we
Oh, it's
scroll down
low.
here, we got
None there. None are above 70 percentage that played the entire season. So,
and
I
what's
mean, yeah.
the NFL's percentage right now?
Oof. I would have
Or
to
do you
double
know?
check.
Okay,
I don't know
see,
off the top of my head.
don't
I
know
can
off the
check
top of your
though.
head. I'm gonna guess it's like, isn't it between like 68 and 70? Because I feel like Cam Newton had a really bad one. That's the only one I'm relating it to. Was his?
No, Winston had a bad one. He had a good percentage to the other team, not
Yeah,
necessarily.
I
Okay,
feel
so
like
let's
it
see. So
was like,
Winston had a 60.7. Dak
yep.
Prescott had a 65.1. Goff had 62.9. These are the leaders for last season in the
Hmm.
actual NFL. Rivers had a 66.0, so not too far off. A
Wow.
little bit lower. A little
Hmm.
bit lower.
Yeah, because
Uh,
I thought Cam was sitting at like 63% or something, but it could have been a different stat. But
yeah, the
I'm
only one below 60 is Mayfield and Dalton.
yeah, and so looking at ours, I mean, you got of course your Tom Brady with 69%, but he's only thrown for 2,300 yards because you switched to Tommy
Oh yeah,
Stevens. But that's
like
only
a
it's
goon
less
would.
than 1,000, like a goon. I mean, you're at 3,200 yards. Somebody like Matt Ryan, there you go, with Jern 67%. I mean, that's a solid percentage. I
Matt Ryan
feel
with Johnny.
Oh, Matt
That's good.
Ryan, you're right. I was thinking Jern from the other Hard Knocks. But yeah,
See,
67%. And considering where the sliders and the reaction time was at, I would have thought that might be a little lower, but it doesn't seem like it's really made that big of an impact.
yeah, I think the entire game is designed to run the ball. So even if you adjust sliders, it's going to be really hard to change how the entire game was designed.
Hmm.
Uh, Even putting reaction times, whatever, it's just you have so many fluky things that happen when you pass, inaccurate passes, receivers dropping the ball, DBs making these insane,
Right.
one-handed catches. It's just the game favors running. So I don't know what you could change to make passing more even.
Yeah.
And people in general are just worse at passing, so that's not going to
Yeah,
help
I
either.
think a lot of us just will huck the ball up if nobody's open rather than throw the ball away, which is why I always turn off intentional grounding because I think you should be able to throw the ball away like they do. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, outside of the outlier Sam Darnold, I mean, I just don't know that passing totals are that different. So let's move on to something a little more, uh, I guess, relatable to what the game state is, and that's rushing.
Yep. Um, oh, I just want to actually quickly for the QBs. That's where I had the interesting stat is that even though we only had a handful of QBs with the positive touchdown interception ratio, the
Hmm.
top 35 QBs in real life had a positive touchdown interception ratio. So three backups even had positive touchdown
Yeah.
interception ratio. So that's a huge difference between real life and the actual game. But
Oh,
anyway,
for
we'll go on to
sure.
rushing.
I mean, without a doubt. I mean, that's the case. That is the case, and I think once again it goes back to that players making um, bad decisions that professional QBs wouldn't make, and then they probably hit the check down way more than anything that we do. Like,
Yeah, or yeah, throw it in the dirt at someone's feet too. If there's
yeah,
nothing, throw it.
it
So it's
exactly.
um, but yep. And then you have. Do you want to go into rushing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, a Slick posted. Yeah, Crowder. We'll- oh, we're getting to Crowder.
Hey,
We're getting to Crowder.
yeah, slow your roll, Slick. Like we got other things to do. Guys over here posting spoilers already.
Yeah, no, we're getting to him. I had to double check that to make sure I was looking at it right. So rushing, we have the leader with obviously Miles Sanders with 2,072. Probably would have broke the record if he didn't get injured that one game.
It
And then
was
he has
just one game though,
26
right?
touchdowns. One game, but it was for the entire game. And I think
Right.
the record is like 2,100.
Hmm.
So he definitely would have broken it.
And
And
for
then you have
context,
Chubb.
one thing for context is I went back and looked at our original Hard Knocks league, and in 2020, which would have been second season, we had Le'Veon Bell with 2,165. And so I would almost venture to guess, obviously depending on who his opponent was, 100 yards for a running back is pretty good. So I would say that's almost exactly the same as
Yeah,
what we
I
had
would
when we
too.
weren't playing with sliders. But go on. So then you have Nick Chubb.
Well, yeah, and it goes down. So I'd be curious for that too on our old league, what the second, third, and fourth place. Because we have Nick Chubb with 1,775 yards, 14 TDs. Then Dalvin Cook with 1,676 yards and 15 TDs.
Right.
So,
So
and
once it
also kind of funny too, they all three have abilities. I'm pretty sure Cook has and Sanders have jukebox. Chubb has, of course, the stiff arm of death with the arm bar.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and
I
what's
think that helps
funny
too.
is you still kind of have that one outlier, which is he's roughly 300 yards higher, Miles Sanders is, than Nick Chubb, the next closest,
Yeah,
much like the passing thing. So, we all know that Jern is really good. So I feel like that's kind of what gives him that difference. And then you
yeah.
have Coach Cy running Nick Chubb, and he can obviously run. He's second in the league, but I wouldn't say he's on Jern's level. So the fact that they're all kind of in that mix, I don't know what it really means. Other than,
I think, I mean, Jern's elite at running the ball too, which helps because I mean, if you look at attempts,
hmm
Sanders has over 60 less carries
yeah, oh
than
yeah,
Chubb. So, I mean, if he gave Sanders the ball 300 times,
oh God, yeah,
I mean, 2,600 yards, 2,700.
yeah.
So,
I mean, because that's
I think the
roughly three to
outliers
four
are,
games. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and then
So,
you got Dalvin Cook with 260 carries at 1,600 yards. So like a better comparison is Nick Chubb to Dalvin Cook, and he has 48 more carries than Dalvin Cook does, and he's only got 100 more yards. So yeah, I think
yeah.
you make an apt comparison when you say that.
Yep. So,
And
and then receiving, I mean,
well,
this is the
actually,
big one.
now this time I'm gonna go back and say, hold on rushing is
Okay.
um, broken tackles because that is one thing that does the sliders also affected was tackling was actually upped a little bit versus what your standard sliders is. And look at Nick Chubb, still has
Yeah, I
78
mean,
broken tackles. He's got
so it's
twice as
also
many.
with how they record tackles too, or
Is
broken
it?
tackles, because yeah, because you'll have, I mean, you'll use jukebox and juke out three guys in one play, and it won't register a
Mm.
single broken tackle. When you stiff arm guys into the second row, it counts it as a broken tackle. So if you look at, you got Chubb and Henry as the leaders in broken tackles. They
Uh huh.
both have arm bar. So you
Right.
hit somebody with arm bar, check in the box, broken tackle. So that's
Wow.
where you're
But
getting that
man,
number
look at
from.
that 78. Like he's got over twice as many broken tackles than Derrick Henry does.
I mean, he found the X button. I'll tell you that.
Like, yeah, he did. And then let's see, yards after contact. How about longest run? I would like to know that. I guess that's not going to be a good stat because it's just going to be one.
Uh,
What
Royce Freeman apparently took a handoff when they had the ball in the back of the end zone. They had a 100-yard run.
I saw that. Uh, now, see, that's average yards per game. So I was hoping to see something like, um, I don't know, average run. I guess there it is. Yeah, there's the average run right there. So 15 yards a carry, 14 yards a carry for Royce Freeman. But these
Yeah,
guys
you got to
have
ignore those.
no attempts. Yeah,
Lamar, quarterback, so you got to drop to your first.
there
Yeah,
we go.
Sanders.
Yeah, Miles Sanders, 243 attempts. He's averaging 8.5. Uh, Corey Grant, and see that's the other thing we don't take into account is he was running two halfbacks. Like if you add his two halfbacks together, he's at like 2,600 yards
Yeah.
because Corey Grant has 576 of those yards. Um, but let's see, and then yeah, we got to
And
go way down.
Tommy.
I guess I should just do attempts then. Go by attempts. So yeah, Nick Chubb with 5.8 yards per carry, 6.4. And do you know that stat off the top of your head? What's average yards per carry for a running back? Is it like somewhere around?
He's
I don't
talking
know.
for like regular football.
Yeah, for like real NFL football.
So I don't have the average. I mean, I'm sure. I remember Jamal Charles had over 5 yards a carry, and it was pretty impressive. So I
Yeah,
think over five, you're doing good. And then I
right,
know for total, Derrick Henry had the most yards last year with 1,540.
right.
So he wouldn't even hit the top 10 or top three in this league
Yeah.
if it were real life. So,
So yeah, I
uh,
mean, looking at the average yards, I mean it's not too far off. I mean Nick Chubb with 5.8, you got Dalvin Cook 6.4. Obviously Miles Sanders is an outlier, but a lot of averaging 5+ yards per carry. So the only way to measure that with sliders is to go back to the other league, but there's without seeing the season-ending totals for that, I can't really compare. So I would be curious to know, but once again, I just don't know that the sliders had that dramatic an impact for it. So now I would say let's go ahead and jump into the receiving end of things.
oh, Jags wanted us to give some love to Gibson, and yeah, I
Gibbs.
remember him tearing.
Oh
Gibson,
yeah.
yeah, he's a rookie. No abilities, but I think he's pretty damn fast.
Oh, there he is, Antonio Gibson. Yeah, he's got 6 yards per carry,
Yeah,
1,100
95 speed,
yards.
95 acceleration.
Oh, really? Well, then he needs more yards
Yeah.
with that then, because he's only got 1,100. That's kind of
Well,
sad.
five injuries, 5 games of injuries.
5 injuries?
That's yeah,
Jeez.
or 5 games
Five
of injuries.
games?
Not
Yeah,
bad. That's
that's pretty
fine.
brutal.
Yeah. He's
No,
pretty heavy too for that speed, 228. So that helps
no
like throwing
doubt.
forward.
Jesus,
Yeah,
dude's a beast.
good. But all right, so we want to go on to the defense,
Yep. Receiving.
receiving. Oh, how could I forget? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Jameson Crowder. I don't know what they're feeding him. He had 2,837 yards and 21 touchdowns. Uh, Second place was 1,200 yards underneath him with the Shark and
Yeah, that
17 TDs.
that's absurd.
I, I mean, I guess look for Crowder on a streak every play. I guess that's the
Right?
um, and then so even further, the record in real life was Calvin Johnson with a little over 1,900 yards in one season. So he eclipsed the previous leader in a season by 1,000 yards.
That's absurd. And one thing that we had talked about too before we started this was also like some of these things you do have to take into context divisions and who they play against. So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
as you know, as good as Jern is running the ball, he does play the Redskins and then he played the Giants. So like, those are some teams that finished really low on the win column side. So, you know,
Yeah.
not I'm not trying to take anything away from Jern because we obviously know he can play, but so Jamison Crowder might be benefiting from playing Jabbar twice a year. Like that's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. Jabbar's kind of trash. Dropped 5 games
Oof.
early.
Oof. I mean, that's why when you kneel the ball in the third quarter, it's going to give your other opponent some opportunity to
It's
throw the
true.
ball. So,
And you know what? I bet you he played the Colts, and we all know the Colts owner is trash.
yeah. I mean, just close your eyes and
Yeah, close
do
your eye.
Ask Madden.
I mean, half the time he doesn't even show up.
All right, that's good. We got that one in. Let's keep it going.
You keep it going. Um, but yeah, so what do we got? So
Oh, and get
obviously,
this too.
what's that?
58 more receptions in the second place
Yeah,
interceptions.
that's pretty
I mean, I keep
wild.
going. I keep going with
I mean,
how
James
absurd these
Washington with the
stats.
Steelers has 81. He's the next closest. Metcalf with 78. So, I mean, he is feeding him the rock like crazy.
Yeah.
And then we can look at his average. Actually, I guess I have to do it
I
this
mean,
way.
he's got 20.4 yards per reception
Yeah.
and then
So,
has 139 receptions. We could do the entire podcast about
I,
Crowder if you wanted. So,
yeah. The only thing I'll say is like at least uh, Ilstein with DJ Chark, he has 17 touchdowns on like almost a third of the targets. So talk about efficiency. Like
yeah.
Crowder's inefficient, but just racking up the totals. And I saw somebody in chat was like, "Is this guy even following the play call rules? Like, how is this even happening?" So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, Slick said the four vert, it's a one vert. That's what
It's
offense he's running.
it's a
It's a
one
one vert
vert.
to Crowder.
I like it, the one vert. That's awesome.
Jesus. Um,
And then rack yards. I keep doing this and I keep screwing it up. Uh, rack yards 758. I mean, he does have a lot more rack yards than a lot of other guys. So I don't know. Once again, I would have thought pass defensive reaction and coverage would have had a much larger impact, and it just doesn't seem like it did.
yeah, I'd like to see a highlight tape of his.
Yeah, no doubt. So what's next?
Next is we're going on to defense with sacks, and this is like just like down the board is way different than real life.
For sure.
Real life you had the leader at 19.5 with Shaquille Barrett last year, and then here you're starting out number one with Fletcher Cox with 31.5 sacks.
Right.
And then second is D Ford with 31 sacks, and then third is Zadarius Smith with 28. So
Right.
I mean, you're just blowing the real life out of the water. And I think also if you look at those three, all three have pass rush ability,
Do
and
they?
so that's dictating the game. When you can have Fletcher Cox just throw a double team aside like it's nothing, come right up the middle and get you. That's
Yeah.
not much you can do to escape that.
One thing for context was looking at our other league is we actually had um, who did I say it was leading? Oh, it was Von Miller in 2020 had 35 sacks, and so I feel like this the difference is not great. I mean, really, there's not much difference between 35 and 31 and a half, minus a couple different games, and that can be skewed based on who your opponent is. I mean, truly. If you play
Yeah.
somebody like me who holds the ball forever, then you're going to rack up a ton of sacks. Like I think the Vikings can attest to that. Who was it? Daniil Hunter had like 3 sacks just in our game, and
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
more.
That's a bad man right
It
there.
yeah, he was killing me. So, I think that's pretty much the same as what a non-slider league is having anyway. And then I had Joey Bosa, I think with 29. So, it's pretty similar, which I think is kind of funny. Like Joey Bosa is not even on this list, like right here for our league right now. So
Yeah.
Dar's got
Yeah,
got rookie numbers.
depends on how you play. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can do different things with your line to get better pass rush angles and all that. So,
Yeah, but
but
Bosa's like a hack, dude. Like that guy was
yeah,
just doing stuff on his own.
and especially in that division too. Jeez, you you
I
think you
don't
have
know.
way better stats.
I don't know if I just missed him or what, but
Um, Also kind of crazy. So the record for sacks in a season was I can't even pronounce his name. Gastineau with the Jets in 1984 was 22. The
22.
top, the top from this season alone, you had 5 players beat that
Mm-hmm.
for most sacks in a year.
Yeah, and it's
So
funny because like Khalil Mack is sitting at 22, and I think I said it in the last podcast. Like I swear, some games, dude, he's invisible, and he had 22.
yeah,
That just shows you how skewed the game version versus real life is. Like,
and it's tough to pass like that too when you get guys getting that many sacks, putting you in positions like second and 19 and stuff like that.
yeah, for sure.
Makes it way harder. And then going on from sacks, again, everything reflects how hard it is to pass in this game. Interceptions, you had Oren Burks, middle linebacker for the Packers, with 15 interceptions.
Ooh.
Uh, Second place was the free safety Micah Hyde with 13. And then you had cornerback William Jackson the third with 12 interceptions. And compare that to real life, you had Stephen Gilmore, Anthony Harris, and Tre'Davious White tied with 6 interceptions in real life. So
That's bananas.
double, double.
Yeah.
I mean,
So one thing I was curious about because we saw this happen in Hard Knocks was, do we know if this 15 total is actually accurate? Because didn't you have a user free safety or strong safety that
yeah,
wouldn't show
I
up?
don't think I have it this year, but yeah, you'd have to go through every team.
Right.
If you sub in a guy as a user, so he doesn't have many tackles and downs played, it won't register.
It won't register, yeah. So I wonder if that 15 is actually the highest or if there's somebody out there floating around with a little bit more, but still for, comparison's sake, I mean, 2 to 3 times real life. But it's not really a
Yeah,
surprise. I mean, we all know that people make terrible decisions on a weekly basis, so
yeah, it's as simple as pressing the wrong button and you
it
get
it
a bad
can
pick,
be, yeah, it can be. Interesting thing,
Um,
I just looked at tackle for loss, 23 tackles for loss. Um, Curious, it'd be great, like I said, if we could really compare these stats to another league's completed season to kind of see if there was a difference in how line play actually worked out.
yeah, that'd be nice to have too, like sliders, competitive or sim mode, whatever, and then see
Hmm.
how everything is affected.
Yeah, and sim mode. Yeah, that's a great point. I'd be curious to see, which we can kind of get into briefly after this. So, you got another defensive stat to throw at me?
No, that's it. I was trying to
Okay.
see if I could look up tackles for law. Oh, there we go. So actually, 24 by Aaron Donald, and then 23 by Shaquille Barrett in regular life. So
Hmm.
not too far off.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think my takeaway from this is that I don't know that sliders had a real tangible impact overall. And for anybody that's actually, following along on the podcast in chat, let us know what you think because I'd be curious to know what your guys' thoughts are. Because I'll ask you, Pan, like, outside of some like anecdotal instances, like, do you think the game changed much, or do you think it was pretty much the same game, sliders or no sliders?
I didn't feel a difference to be honest. After playing 5 seasons in our other league with
Mm-hmm.
sliders not touched, honestly, you can notice a difference between playing head-to-head competitive mode, but between uh, this league with sliders adjusted sim mode and the last league no sliders adjusted sim mode, I personally could not tell the difference.
Yeah, I feel like what I was expecting to see was really like much better defensive back play, and then run blocking. I think is actually turned down. Like for context, like I'll just run over there and look. I was expecting to see lower rushing totals and lower passing totals, generally speaking, just because various things were adjusted to affect it. So, like, pass blocking was at 45, so down 5 points. Not a huge difference, but subtly down. Catching was down 4 points. Run blocking was down 11 points. And you would have thought that would have had a huge impact on the run game, would you not?
Yeah. Oh, so now kind of taking a step back, if you were to say that initially, yeah, you get good sheds, you get them in the backfield, but the big problem with the run game is the terrible angles that
Mm-hmm.
players take, and it doesn't matter if you're getting good sheds or not. If you run stretch to the outside and your safety just comes screaming down in the center of the field while you just busted outside, it doesn't matter about the sheds. You're going to
Which
still
I,
get yards. So
yeah, I would
so maybe
totally
that's
agree with, except for like your blocks in theory wouldn't hold up as long, and like you said, you would get better sheds. So like getting to the edge should theoretically be harder. Um, and so your pursuit angles are still going to suck, but I would have thought that the defensive line would get better push and better run block sheds, so then they would be there to kind of get those stops at it,
yeah.
more often. But I see your point.
I
Like, I totally agree. Pursuit angles are jacked, and maybe that's why. Maybe there's no real fix to, the run game. It's just as long as pursuit angles suck, the game will be run dominant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think the game is so built towards running the ball. I don't think changing sliders is going to affect. It's like escape artist. You have a quarterback with 50 speed with escape artist. He will run out of the pocket faster than a 99 speed quarterback without escape artist. Doesn't
Right.
matter what you adjust. That's how the game is. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's the same with rushing. You can adjust the sheds. You can adjust whatever you want. The game's built for you to be able to run the ball.
And so here's something interesting. Are you in stats right now on the console at all?
Yeah.
Can
Okay.
you look at rushing stats and look at fumbles? Because fumbles are up 72, up sitting at 72, so up a full 22 points. And in my games, I don't even think I saw that many fumbles. I'm sure somebody did,
Yeah,
but
it's all quarterbacks leading the for fumbles. Like you don't even get to halfbacks until four with Kamara, four with Tevin Coleman, four with Nick Chubb,
yeah, I mean
four.
that's nothing. And
Yeah,
maybe like if you looked at all of the Browns fumbles, maybe that's where you would see them because you have four for Chubb, and then you have a couple wide receivers, and you have a couple running or quarterbacks. Maybe you'd see more there, but it didn't seem to make a difference. And then Johnny did comment that the game didn't feel any different. The only thing that felt different was the ridiculous penalties, which
yeah.
we'll kind of jump into next after this. Um, but once again, like I said, I didn't notice a difference on fumbles, and then I mentioned the pass defense reaction time sitting at 100 versus 50. Like, you can't tell me that there was a functional difference between 50 and 100. And by that by that statement, that's just absurd. Like that is
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that to me says that you should have had any 90 plus corner basically playing lockdown coverage against anybody, and then most 70 overall corners playing really well, and obviously depends on who your matchup is, but like that should have been way better, and that was
Uh,
not better.
nope. That's I think that's so deep in the coding,
Oh yeah, I
honestly,
totally
that
agree.
it doesn't matter like
It
what.
Yeah,
Uh,
like we could play this game on zero reaction time and probably have the same outcome.
yeah,
Like
and also I wonder how the sliders affect it because the game is built off of thresholds, right? So there's some
yes,
speed, there's
absolutely.
something like speeds where a 95 speed is better than a 92 speed if he's going to be faster, and that's a
Hmm.
difference. Whereas, for instance, and I sent this to a couple people, but like there's a certain threshold where you get animation, so like stiff arm, right? It doesn't
Right.
matter if you have 99 stiff arm or 91 stiff arm. Once you hit a 90 threshold, you get the better animations.
Right.
And so I'm curious with the sliders if it's like, hey, instead of 90 to reach the best zone threshold, now it's bumped down to 87 or an
Yeah.
85. But still, once you have a player above that kind of zone threshold, they play the exact same as everybody else. So maybe that's why it's not
Yeah.
adjust or affecting it very much, I guess.
I think that's probably the most reasonable explanation because we do know that thresholds existed in prior games, like where it was like I think what 92 man or whatever was the
It
threshold
was something
before,
weird. Yeah.
something weird. So maybe what you're saying is yeah, effectively raising the threshold for reaction time just lowered the threshold needed to play the elite level. And the reality is we all understand certain things are more effective regardless of who you're playing against, overall wise. Like, the 15-yard or the 10-yard out, even against elite corners, is going to work 70% of the time. And
Yeah.
so all that meant was now your elite corner can be an 85 and it's still going to work 70% of the time. It just changes the relation in how the game represents it. So uh,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of wild.
And
Interceptions was
abilities too.
and
And
abilities
abilities will
too.
affect it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Acrobat and whatever Byron Jones' ability
I mean,
is.
post flag,
Yeah,
uh,
post flag.
post flag elite. If you have corner or post route, good luck
Hmm.
stopping that. Catch it in triple coverage, do whatever you want.
And then look at this. Tackling is at 85 versus 50. And once again, I mean, obviously it wasn't an issue for the run game. I mean, the run game was still effective, even with tackling where it's at. I mean, we play it on 50. I mean, that's absurd to me. And you still have guys juking people. Like I was making the comment that Cohen with Jukebox he's done some great things for me in games, but there were a lot of times where there was always somebody close enough to make a tackle on me, even if I juked one guy. It didn't matter because he was getting tackled. So I don't know if that's a representation of the slider or
Yeah,
just how many people are next to him. So
that's Madden. Like, who knows what certain stats do, and if there's like hidden attributes
yeah,
too.
and I think I just breezed over the QB accuracy was down 15 points, and I think a lot of people noticed the inaccurate throws. Um, I mean, I suffered from it. I played with Trubisky, and at times he was Peyton Manning, and at other times he was not Peyton Manning. So
Yeah,
and I'm willing to accept that. I've always been one to feel like Madden's always misrepresented QBs, and players have a too high an expectation of what their QB should be able to do because you see the entire field and this route is supposed to work against this coverage, and so we rely so much on those things, and we're like, well, but then he misses that easy drag route or that easy out route or that easy hitch, and so we're not willing to accept that bad quarterbacks are supposed to miss these things, and it's just I think for
yeah,
me that they just shouldn't miss by the margin they miss by. Like it should be a yard away. It shouldn't be 5 yards to the free safety that wasn't even close to the play that gets a pick and runs it back for 6. And I think we could
right.
probably agree on that.
Yeah, you get some awful, I mean, like Tebow times 10 type throws in this game.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I will say,
Wow.
not to go too far down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
uh, but it's a video game. It's not. I know it's a simulation football game, quote unquote, even though it's abilities, whatever. But it is a video game, and you kind of want to have a video game where, hey, I play better than you. I should get rewarded for playing better than you. Maybe my quarterback's not as good. Maybe not my receiver's as good. But I threw it to the right guy when he was open.
Yes.
Maybe he should catch the ball. And I'm not saying whether it
No.
should be either way. But
Uh-huh.
if you compare it to another game, imagine you were playing Call of Duty and you're better at aiming than somebody else, but randomly in the game your gun jams. So you're better than this guy, but you got killed because the game just said, "Hey, your gun jammed." People
Hey,
would be furious.
but that happens
So
in real life, right?
it happens in real life. So it's
Guns
more
jam,
realistic.
right?
Yeah, maybe your guy trips and falls. He,
Yeah.
has a
Maybe
fever. I don't know.
maybe his
I'm
shoe
just
was
saying.
untied and he trips and falls and like shoots
Yeah.
himself in the leg. It happens.
So
But
Yeah, it does happen. So
do you
as
want it
for
to
like,
happen?
right, where do you want to have the balance of football and real life
Right.
between, it's a video game. So, and I'm not saying either way is like better. It's just kind of something to think about.
Hey, you know what? Maybe man up and make it. Pick a side. Choose a side.
I mean, I would lean towards it's a video game.
Yeah.
If
No, and
I play better, reward me, you know?
you know what? And I think it's a really great conversation to have. Is I think at least me personally, where I am at is if line play was accurately represented in the game, and like you said, pursuit angles for tackling and DBs played like they do, I wouldn't be opposed to a 70 overall quarterback hitting the open guy. But like the fact is, the game represents so poorly coverage at times, and it's like, well, half the time there's going to be somebody wide open on the field because
Yeah.
it's not representing accurate coverage and line play. You got some 69 overall tackle holding up, Aaron Donald this one play, and so you have all the time in the world. And so because of that, that's where the randomness of QB inaccuracy kind of makes the balance happen. And it's just a poor representation
Yeah.
of what the game
I know
is.
we could be talking about this forever, but I also want
You're
to add to
right.
that
You're right.
as far as guys getting open. I don't know if other people. I mean, I know people do this, but I will go into practice mode to controllers, call a coverage like cover two, and lab route combos that get open against cover two. Then I'll change it to soft squats. Then I'll change it to I put my middle third or my mid read into a deep blue middle third, right?
Right.
And I lab routes that get open against all these different coverages. So, I put in the time and effort to do that, and then have a QB just overthrow him by like 10
Yeah.
yards. Like my opponent is doing Ask Madden and then
I
getting
know.
dudes
It's
catching
true.
it in triple coverage.
It's so
So
true. I
again,
get it.
I
I
get that
get it.
it's supposed to represent football. You had David Tyree catching the freaking ball in his helmet after Eli Manning broke like 3 tackles. Crazy stuff happens in football, but it's a video game. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm
No,
just it's like
no,
something
I
to
get
think
it.
about.
I get it. I mean, you make a valid point right there. So I guess we'll move off the sliders and the stats. I know we spent a lot of time on it. Sorry, guys. It was kind of a thing for me that I wanted to do with this one. Um, my assumption at this point is sliders don't even matter. Like the game is the game, and it doesn't matter. So in my view, I think we should just go into season two, reset everything back to what it's supposed to be, and like just the stock game and just play it. So
Yeah,
I'd be curious
I think that's a good idea.
in the chat, like post it up, DM me, do whatever you want to do, and let me know how you think about it. But I think I didn't see a reason to keep the sliders where they're at. One quick thing, because I know it was brought up in the chat, was the penalties. And this
Yeah,
is
that's been a huge complaint by a number of
it's
people.
been a
Yeah.
massive complaint, and this is one thing that I'd actually say I don't see a real issue with. Like to be honest, like looking at it, penalties once again. You have the Cardinals at 74. Yeah, that sucks for the Cardinals. UGW, hate to be ya, but like you go to the
I,
middle
I
of
don't
the
know what he
pack.
was doing. He was getting a lot of weird penalties, at least the
Yeah,
game that we had.
middle of the pack. 37 37 penalties over 17 weeks. I mean, that's not even 3 penalties a week. Now, granted, that means one week you have one penalty, one week you have six, and maybe that's really the problem. And I suffered from it. Like, I went through the whole season. My last couple of games, I had two different touchdowns called back, one that would have given me a lead in the final 2 minutes that gets called back on a hold, and then I wind up fumbling the ball and never touch the ball again. It absolutely impacted my season. I'm not playing in the playoffs now because what I would like to think is that one particular play. But once again, you know, I think it goes back to the same argument that we were just discussing, which is it do you want to have a game that represents real football, or do you want to have a game that's a video game and rewards you for playing better than your opponent? And in that one particular instance, at that one spot in the game, I called the right cover or called the right concept against the coverage I anticipated, read the right read, made the right play, and got punished for it through a penalty. And I'm
Yeah,
willing to accept it where others are like, this is kind of bullshit, and I totally feel it. So I get where you guys are coming from, um, and kind of to double back to where we ended the last conversation on sliders and stats. I think we're just going to move them back to where they're supposed to be, and just let them be what there is, which I think kind of leads us into the next topic, which is the it's the battle that we're always having in CFM, which is, do we play on comp, do we play on sim, and
Yeah,
you know
it's
uh,
tough. I mean, it's you gotta weigh your options, I guess. It kind of be nice. I don't know. I originally thought comp with CFN you don't get holding unless you set your blocking to aggressive, but you were saying that you still get those type of calls no matter what.
I feel like you
Um,
do. And if somebody can correct me, I mean, I play in a CFM that plays on comp with the Lions owner and twin, so I'll at him and see if he will say whether or not he knows it. I'm not sure who else does, but if somebody does, I'd like to know, is holding in comp mode. I think holding and PI think are both still in there. Is that what
I
was
know.
it?
So yeah, head-to-head competitive mode. Uh, you only get a pass interference if you hit stick the receiver before he gets to the ball, and then you only get holding if you set your blocking to aggressive.
And see, I
Uh,
never set my blocking to aggressive, and I still feel like I get holds. But that could just be the way I feel about it. I don't know. I have no
yeah,
evidence
beyond
to back
holds,
this up.
I'm with Slick what he put in the chat 100%. Like you get some weird PI animations where like your defender drags down the receiver, and yeah, that happens. I have a low awareness corner maybe, but it's the ones where you click on, get a great pick, and then it gets called a PI because you barely touch the receiver. Uh, and then not only do you not get the turnover, they get the ball way down the field, and it can be a huge, huge game changer.
Yeah,
Um, so I don't know the answer though, to be honest, because if you turn off, I think you could turn off PIs and it wouldn't be that bad. But if you turn off holding, you best believe I'm setting my O line to aggressive and we're going ham. Like that's
yeah, and
that's gonna
that's
happen. So you
that's
can't really turn off holding. Like
yeah, that
that's
sounds like a horrible idea. It's like,
yeah.
let's see, is the run game overpowered? Yes. Let's turn off holding.
um,
Yeah,
so I don't know. I think you could do a poll or something. I'm fine with however the group decides. But
yeah.
if you get rid of pass interference, I don't think it would make that big of a difference. It's not like you could do something to abuse the AI once you get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, it does depend. I mean, I don't, because I've been in those scenarios. I mean, and PI is so poorly judged anyway in this game. Like, even with PI where it's at right now, I know I've clicked onto a DB and bumped wide receivers while the ball's in the air, and it still doesn't make a difference. So, like, it's not like turning it off would probably make that big of a difference. But
Yeah.
so,
I will also say, I mean, maybe it was just like me. Uh, I didn't get the full picture, but I remember when the year I had Sherman, I don't think I had any PIs called on him. And then my other corner, who was way lower in awareness and play rec and everything like that, he got more PIs called against him.
yeah,
So maybe that's something you invest with, getting better corners so you don't get those PI calls. And maybe
right.
that's your answer to it. So,
So the
like I
Lions
said, I don't
said
really have the answer.
he doesn't really run into them on comp, but the thing is, they happen. So sometimes I just don't get mad, and I think that's the way I've approached the comp mode league that I've been in. Is like I just expect to have them happen. So when they do happen, I'm not like, oh, obviously I'm like, oh, that sucks, but I don't think much beyond it.
I mean, post game, I'm like, yeah, it happens. Mid game, oh no, it's
Oh,
cuss words are flying out.
you know what? You can go straight to hell because you have 18 penalties in 16 games. So
I
you,
have Tom Brady talk to the refs before every game,
yeah,
and I'm sure I don't get called on stuff.
clearly because that's one a game. It's nearly less than one a game. It's crazy. 26 is the next closest. So, you know, by the statistics, I would say that the penalties haven't really even been an issue. It's just in competitive games when you don't have control over the the way they're called. It's not like you're doing something to create a penalty, like when you do a hold. Like you call a play, it's a positive play, and then it gets called back on a hold. Like then you're like, well, I didn't do anything to impact that hole. It's not like I scrambled out of the pocket and created a hold. So
Yeah, I
anyhow,
also like that the attitude. Yeah, not to keep beating a dead horse, but
yeah.
I told Slick this is that I view it as I should be good enough to win no matter what. Like the game should be able to throw the kitchen sink at me, and I should be able to still overcome that and win.
And
So
I agree with that philosophy, and that's a lot of times, even though it's not represented in my gameplay as of late, is I know when things don't go my way, like a guy throws it up into double coverage on a third and long and completes it, I just sit there and tell myself, I'm like, okay, it's cool. He's going to make more mistakes in the long run than you are, and you're going to win the game. Lately,
yeah.
that is not the case. Lately,
Hey,
that is
I mean,
not
you
the
fulfilled
case.
my pretender
You did.
prediction, so
You totally
I
got me.
appreciate that. You
No
made me look
problem.
good.
Hey, you know what? Where Penn was right, you were right. I was a pretender, and much like when I called Coach a pretender, and he was going to wind up finishing negative in the win column, I nailed that one. So, but I will own up to where Kevin was wrong, and that was calling the Cincinnati Bengals a pretender because he's in the playoffs. I am not. Freshly baked buns. He's the truth. He's winning the ship. Take it to the
I
bank.
mean, he is wearing that on his shoulder
I
every
know. I
game
love
he
it.
plays.
I love it. So, okay. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the final edition of Penn's Power Rankings.
Oof. Yeah, this has been a long podcast, so I'll try and I don't want to
It
breeze through it,
has it
but
been? I don't even know what like how dude.
that's been like
Who
an
knows
hour
what
or
time
so.
we're in? It has it been? Oh God, I'm sorry guys.
I
We're
don't
just
know.
rambling.
Me and you were talking like kids and stuff beforehand, so that's
I know it's
made
true.
it last longer. Okay, so we'll get right into it. I thought the funniest thing was I was looking at the playoff teams, as a big thing. I'm like, uh, as far as the rankings, and I only counted 11, and I was like, where the hell did only 11 teams make it? Like, what is going on with Madden? And I forgot you had the AFC West just bringing up the caboose, 7-9, and Madden ranked them 18 in the league,
What?
but they made it. So yeah. So I thought it was funny because yeah, only 11 teams. Like, where the heck is the 12th team? Okay, so 10th I have. I'm pretty impressive that he was able to turn around the Rams, even though trading Aaron Donald may be the worst decision I've ever heard of.
Right.
But we have 10 the Rams with Sib,
Right.
and I mean I think we'll go over our playoff predictions in a little bit, but yeah, he can wreak havoc. He knows how to play the game, and I feel like he's one person that can beat almost anybody in the league if he's playing good.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
That's a
no,
hot take. That's
I
a
got a
hot
lot of love
take.
for Sib. I think he's good. So
You know what I will say though? Sib's been in a league with me now for a while, and that kid has gotten way better than when he started.
yeah,
Like, I think last year or the year before when he was in my division, he took my lunch a lot. So I got to give Sib credit for really be getting really good at the game and giving me fits because like he crushed me this year in this league. Um, so yeah, I mean I think
yeah,
without a doubt he deserves to be on the list. Not to say that I mean half the league beat me anyway, so what does it matter? But it's not
yeah. You're a
like it's
bad thing to judge off of. So
yeah. Thanks. That's it.
well,
You're
I
not
mean, just
invited on
that.
the podcast. That's it.
Going off wins against you, we have the Lions at number 9.
Oh wow.
No, okay. So
Falcon.
I'm just joking.
Johnny said you've been drinking. If you're putting Sib in the top 10.
Okay, well, here's my next pick, Johnny at number 9. All right, there you go, Johnny.
Yeah.
He's got. If you look at his losses, it's to really good teams. He, I always try and have him in the top 10 because I think he can compete with anybody. He plays sound defense, which if you play good defense, you have a chance to win any game. Maybe you have a high scoring offense, and if that gets stopped, you're kind of done. But if you have a good defense, you can beat anybody. So
Yeah.
I have him at number 9. Coming in at 8 is the Jags. I don't know
Oof.
what Jags am I rating? Is it the Chargers losing the Chargers by 2 scores, Jags, or is it beating me, Jags? So I think a good middle ground is number 8. Um,
Yeah.
And
Yeah, without a doubt, Ilstein's really put a good season together. Beat some really high level competition, and but he beats the high level competition and then loses to some questionable competition. So I think he kind of plays to his opponent is what he does. That's the only
yeah,
thing I can figure.
there's a lot of people like that, and I mean it's hard too if you're playing somebody not necessarily who's not good, but you mentally just don't focus as hard
Yeah,
as a top dude.
yeah, I totally understand that. Because like I think I spoke to it a couple podcasts ago, which was playing a game that I overlooked the opponent. I'm like, oh, his record's terrible, so he's got to be trash. And you get into that game, you start kind of doing a couple things you may not do. Suddenly, it's almost the half, and you're like, find yourself in a tie game or down three, and you're like, oh, maybe I got to take this for real. And then suddenly things snowball, and then you're like, oh my god, I could actually lose this game. What is
Yeah,
happening here? So I can see
yeah,
that be a thing. I mean, it's for sure.
yeah. Let me try quarters three man deep as run D. Oh
Yeah.
nope, well that didn't work. All right, so coming in at 7, we have Slick. I think Slick has like 3 forced losses or something, which makes his record look a little worse than it is. I will say, like coming into this top 10 is injuries. Uh, Slick with Russ it's a different team. It's completely different. Russ is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. You
Yeah.
see people playing money games using the Seahawks specifically because of how good Russ is. So if you don't have him, and that O line too, oof,
Yeah.
it's gonna be kind of rough. So
Pretty
him at
bad.
7. We got Bengals freshly baked buns at 6.
No,
He's
no longer a pretender.
no, he's the real deal.
Yeah,
He
for
could
sure.
he could give Manny a challenge with the Texans in the AFC. So him at 6. 5, we have the Bills. Abomish. You saw the Josh Allen stats. He's
Yeah.
doing really good.
Yeah. I'm not
And if you
giving the
can
ball
pass in this
away.
game, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I think he's the lowest amount of turnovers
Yeah, you said he was
in the
over
league.
2-1 or close to 2-1 at least.
Oh
So.
no, just in general. So as far as giveaways goes, I think he
Oh,
had the
really?
lowest amount of giveaways in the entire league.
Wow.
And I said it before, the quickest way to lose is turnovers. So yep, and number 5, and he's always been hovering in the top 5. I think
Yeah.
for almost besides the first power rankings, he's been there. 4, I'm gonna do everybody in the AFC a disservice with this one. All right, uh, I have the Texans and Manny
Ooh.
number 4,
At number
and so that's
four.
that's gonna light a fire
Oh
as if he
yeah, for
didn't
sure.
already need motivation to get just run through the AFC. I will say this though, uh, that is number 4 with Big Ben at QB. I
Did he
played
finally
him
make
at
the switch to Big Ben? He's not gonna stick with
yeah. I think
who
Carvel
was
was
it?
he was a 1 4 for 14 game, and then that was it. So
Yeah.
and with Big Ben was missing throws. He's not mobile. It, if you have Deshaun back there, it's a whole different ball game. You gotta throw spies in there, contain all that. With Big Ben, you're not worried about any of that. So
Right.
I do think with a healthy Deshaun, if he makes it to the Super Bowl with Deshaun, I would put my money on the Texans to win it all.
At least you're humble. I know that. At least you're humble.
I'm
Um,
just saying, like
yeah.
I think about our game, and it was a 20 to 18 game. I had the goat Tommy Stevens lead a game-winning drive, but
On
it was a
on a,
really close game with
on a read
Big
option,
Ben.
no less, right? Is that what I
Oh yeah,
read?
he was doing those RPO bubbles, uh, running it like no other. So, but I think about if he would have had Deshaun in that game, that would have been tough. That would have been really
Yeah.
tough.
Jags
So.
is not happy with you for lighting a fire under the
I'm
Texans.
telling you, man, was mad when I had him number 2, and he's like, "All right, yeah, Slick ahead of me, okay, like we'll see."
Right.
And so now that he's number 4, he's just gonna be tearing through everybody. Uh, 3, I got myself. The 3 1. I know Jern had one loss, but it was a forced loss. So basically, you have the Packers, Eagles, and Bucks all with one loss, and
No,
uh,
the I think the Packers beat Jern. That's what it was. It wasn't a
no, no, he
force.
did. He did. I'm saying Jern has 2 losses, and that second
Oh, I
loss was
gotcha.
a
Yeah,
forced loss.
I gotcha. I see.
So those 3, me, the Eagles, and Packers are kind of like stacked together, I would
Yeah.
say. But again, head to head, Packers have the advantage over Eagles. So 2, I got Eagles with Jern, and number 1, Packers, Johnny
Woo.
Sins.
God,
which having a new guy in the league and number one is pretty dang
yeah,
good.
that's pretty dang good. I think you're trying to fly under the radar, be like, oh, I'm not really that good, guys. It's cool. So you're giving the new guy the number one
Don't
spot.
Yeah, Greg tries the same tactic. Don't try and reverse psychology me into a loss.
But yeah, oh
Packers
yeah,
D line too. Packers D line is absurd. Bosa, Zadarius Smith, and then what was it, Clark? Kenny Clark?
yes, Frank Clark.
Frank Clark?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's stupid good.
yeah. So
Rush the
Jern said
league,
the
get good
only other
pressure.
loss that he had was a fair sim loss to Jewel. So that right there tells you how much EA's rating guy values the Cowboys. Just like, oh, automatic Cowboys win.
Yeah, doing interviews with a Cowboys helmet on his desk next to him.
Right.
Jeez.
Um, and real quick, one thing I do want to say about the Packers is he came on for post game interview after the Lions game. No, it wasn't. It was against the Vikings, and so it was myself and Jabbar in there, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm coming for you guys," and he goes, "This is what I want. I want to go into the playoffs. I want to play." I think he said, I think I want to play slick, and I want to beat him. And then I want to play Jern, the Eagles, and I want to beat him. And then I want to play the Bucks, and I want to beat him. And then I'm going to meet the Texans in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to beat him too. So he's basically called all of you to the carpet and
Whoa.
said, I am coming for each and every one of you, and I'm going to beat you all and take you down in the Super Bowl. So just so it's out there for everybody to know, that's what he wants to happen.
Okay, let me mark it in my calendar. All right, I'll be waiting.
Yeah. So I told him in that chat, I was like, look, man, if you can come in here and beat all those guys, then you will, without a doubt, be one of the best players in the league. I said, the only thing I would say is beating them once is one thing, but consistently beating them would be another thing. But without a doubt, if you can do that, you'll easily be one of the top players in the league.
That's a gauntlet, man.
Absolutely, like, oh my god, that is that is a murderer's row, is what that is. Um, I think I would be happy if I could win one game out of all those guys. I mean, you and I have played some close games, but you always seem to come out ahead of me. So I
Got a
will.
couple tricks for the last drive. That's all I gotta
That's
have. My back pocket.
it'll be interesting to see how these playoffs work out, and I'm excited.
Yeah, there's some good games. That way, good transition to playoff prediction.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can jump on into predictions here. I guess I'll go to the schedule real quick. See if
Yeah,
any.
that's
I
where
don't
I'm
think
at.
any games have been played yet. Have they not?
Nope, not even
Everybody's like
started.
advance, 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 and then no games get played for like 4 hours. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Dicks. Uh,
um, yeah,
so
you want to take the first one?
sure, Titans Bengals. Ooh, that's actually I think a really tough game to call. Danny's been fire lately, and then freshly baked buns. I don't know that I've watched many of his games, but he's been winning. So what did he finish with season wise? Did he finish
I think
11
he
and
had three or
5?
four losses.
Yeah, okay.
No, he was
So,
high up there. Yeah.
yeah, 11 and 5, 12 and 4. Um, I feel like the Bengals are going to win this game only because Danny's been kind of on the down. He's been sliding down a bit lately. I think in the last few games he's probably taken a couple losses. But then again, I think he had to play the Texans twice in 3 games, so that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
But really rooting for my boy Danny to win this one. But I do think the Bengals take it. What about you?
yeah. I think Bengals. I think Bengals take it. He's playing really well, and he's like getting in the groove with that team. Even if you're playing good players, losses get to you. Like even if you're losing
Yeah.
the Texans twice, you're still like, well, maybe I need to change my playbook. Maybe I need to start this guy over this guy. And
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, freshly baked buns is just kind of cruising.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Like sometimes you're just like, oh, this is working for me, and then you get beat down a couple times. You're like, man, I don't know if that's the thing. Maybe I got to look at something different. And I
Yeah.
could definitely see that being where the Titans is at. So, Rams Eagles. I mean,
So yeah, this is one. I'm telling you though, Sid could pull an upset. He is 100% capable of doing it. But if I were to put money on it, I mean, I got Jern. Like, there's
yeah.
no way I'm betting against them. I'm just saying it could happen. It's not like the NFC North in the last league where you basically three teams had a bye week. That's
Hmm.
It's not like that.
Yeah, and I also think like Sib is a good player, but I feel like when he meets adversity, he checks out. And Jern is the type of player that will meet adversity and he'll just hunker down and be like, okay, it's cool. I'm not going to make as many mistakes as my opponent, and just keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to win this game. Like he's got to be one of the chillest guys in the league because I never I never hear him raging. Am I wrong on that?
No, no, yeah, 100%. And that,
Like
that type of attitude is clutch in the playoffs. It's easy to get way in over your head about freaking out. Like even if you get like maybe a garbage fumble or penalty doesn't go your way in the first
exactly.
quarter, you're like, well, that's just how the game is. And I could see him not panicking
And
just
yeah,
at all.
and he's just gonna be like, you know, it's cool. I got this. My defense is solid. My offense will move the ball. He's gonna make more mistakes than me, and he'll win the game. So I totally agree. Eagles gonna win this one. Um, no problem. So
Yeah.
Jags Broncos.
So I
Um,
think this one is the one where I would put 50-50. Like, I have no idea.
Now it's
What,
I have an idea, and it's the Jaguars. Ilstein is
uh,
going to win this game. It's not going to be close, and Willie is going to try to figure out a way to blame me for not giving him the force win against the
I mean, he
Chiefs.
probably would have had home field advantage. Oh no, he does.
Yeah,
So I don't know. He'll think
yeah.
of some.
He'll be like, my morale is down. That's the reason. It's all your fault, Commish. I'm blaming you. But Elstein is winning this game. The dude has been on fire this season. And I think these two opponents probably match up well against each other. So I don't think any one necessarily outskills the other. I just think Ilstein is playing just a better game in general. So that's my read on the situation. What about you?
Yeah. So if I were to they say, hey, you need to put $1,000 on one team, I would put it on the Jags. But it's not for me. It's both teams have shown they can play really well and really bad. So
Right?
what team are you gonna like? Again, if the Jags play like they did against the Chargers, they're gonna
Yeah.
lose. If he plays the same way that he did against me, he's gonna win. If the Broncos play the way they did against the Packers, they're gonna
Right?
win. If they play the same way they did on some of their other games, look, I mean, even
Dude,
in mid game, like against the Texans, if he plays how he did the first half, he's gonna win. If he calls cover four quarters, one of the worst plays in the game, against a money drive for the Texans, and he gets a one score post to Fuller, and he's gonna lose. Like it's
like here's what I'll say. I beat the Broncos, okay? And I'm not in the playoffs. Like that if he plays
yeah.
like he plays against me, he's going to lose.
Oh,
And
all
that's all
right.
there is
Say
to
no
it.
more. He lost to you. Yeah,
I
Jags.
know, right? I
100%
mean,
Jags.
100%. He lost to me. So, like I'm sitting here looking at this going, he finished 8-8. He wants to believe that he should have been 9-7, but like come on. Come on, son. Like chances are this is the best you were going to do. So, Willie, I'm calling you out. Like you're losing this game and I'm going to tag you right now. So, suck it.
All right, last one, Falcons and Seahawks. So for me, this game I think is the one I want to watch the most as far as streams go. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a really close one, and it's going to be you know how some games are like cat and mouse, like something is working
Mhm.
for one guy, so the other opponent works to stop it, and then that opponent gets something that's working the other. I think this will be one of those games.
Yeah,
So
and so who do you think is going to win this game?
I think Johnny,
Whew.
Russell Wilson, different story. Brissett though, Johnny's going to take full advantage of that.
I got a lot of respect for Johnny as a player. Um, he's another guy that I've watched. Like we've been in leagues together for a long time, and he's just progressively gotten better and better and better. And I know he plays a solid game, even with Slick having to deal with who is it? Who's he got?
Br-
Like
Brissett.
Brissett. I think Johnny plays such a conservative style of football against good opponents that he lends himself to losing games. Like, it's not that he's going to lose the game by a lot, he's just not going to play to win the game. Versus, I think he enters the game thinking, I'm just going to try not to lose this game against really good opponents. And Slick's one of those guys that's so good that he's going to come in and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do to you, and you got to stop it. And Johnny can stop it, but then Slick's like, oh, okay, you got that? Well, I'm going to do this. And I don't think Johnny has that other gear of, well, suddenly this isn't working, so now I'm going to do this. He's like, oh, God, now my game plan's kind of out the window. I don't know that I can win this game. He's never going to say he can't win the game, but like he doesn't have that second gear that I think Slick does.
I will put this down there. He made it to the Super Bowl with the Broncos, season one of this year, original Hard Knocks.
Yeah, and that's
Uh,
I mean, Philip Lindsay is kind of a hack. At least he was early in the game, and he was really run heavy in the game, and that was early when nobody knew how to stop the run. And Slick is, I mean, he probably knows how to stop nearly anything, just like you do and
yeah.
some of the other top players. So sorry, Johnny, eat a dick.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the reason you just said is why he's going to win. Is because he can play conservative and win because he knows how to play defense, and he doesn't have to worry about Russell Wilson with escape artist, dashing deadeye, hitting dudes on the run, 50 yards downfield in a dot. He just has to worry about Brissett.
Yeah,
So
which
I would give the advantage Johnny.
yeah, on these sliders, I mean that can be a real deal. Like he comes out early, throws a couple bad, inaccurate passes. I mean the game could get out of his hands early. And we watched Slick in Hard Knocks get a big lead on the Texans and then not be able to recover, or basically lose the lead is what he did. So I mean, I guess they're two different things, but I don't know, man. I got Slick.
Yeah. Well, we're split on that. I think we agreed on the other ones except for
Yeah,
that.
we really did. I mean, I think we totally agreed on that. So, uh,
Which is why I think it'll be one of the top games to watch when they stream.
absolutely. Well, I would say we've probably gone on long enough. I imagine people are probably done listening to me ramble
Yeah,
about my lost
half the people
season.
probably
And
fell asleep. So
yeah, right. All right. Well, thanks for joining, guys, and good luck in the playoffs.